Good morning, everybody. Greg Spiro here. Oh, forgot my hoodie. There you go. Now you can't see my terrible non-cut hair from 4 weeks of quarantining. Whew. We're getting through this, everybody. Corona world. We've got a very special show for you today. One of my friends who I've known for a long time, like 10 years. Though I haven't gotten the chance to go as in-depth because he's a very busy guy. As in-depth as we're going to go today, asking him some questions I wanted to know for a long time, and get the chance to hang out, jam a little bit. We'll have Mr. Michael League on with us. Very excited. Founder of Snarky Puppy, among other really cool groups that he's working on right now. So stick around, stay tuned, and I will be back with you in just a couple minutes after I go make my mushroom cocoa. See you soon. Bye. Good morning, everybody. Oh man, I'm always rushing to get here, but I get here for you. You know, that's one of the reasons that I made this morning show in the first place, was so that I could have a reason to get up. You are my reason for waking up in the morning. Seriously. It's 8 o'clock here in LA right now. I've been up since 6. That's when my alarm goes off, and I do a whole morning routine, which involves coffee, various supplements like this mushroom cocoa that I'm drinking right now. 4 Sigmatic, for any of you who are curious about what I'm drinking, this stuff, 4 Sigmatic mushroom cocoa mix. And a whole routine of reading books, well, a book for 10 minutes, meditating for like 20 minutes. It's very helpful. How are you guys doing this morning? I can see your comments, by the way. If you, there. Okay, so if you guys go to my personal page, I can see everything that you write. So give me a little shout out. Let me know you're there. I'm gonna close this live producer window, get all this stuff set. You know, this is one of those things where it's always flying by the seat of our pants. The proverbial, it's like the royal we, right? But today we have a very, very special guest coming on. His name is Michael League. He founded a little group. Yeah, John, funny. It's too much coffee this morning. So yeah, Michael League, he founded a group called Snarky Puppies. Some of you might have heard of it. And he's got some other really cool groups that he is working on and touring right now. So he's going to join us in a little bit. Just talk to him. He's out in Spain. It's good to see all my hometown people logging on right now. What's up? Dan, Kevin, John. Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous right now because, you know, Mike he's a powerhouse in the music world. He's highly productive, and I'm gonna ask him about some of those things, like what things he does to be as productive as he is. He's built one of the most successful groups in the modern jazz landscape. I don't even know if you call it the modern jazz landscape, but it's creative instrumental music. We'll talk about it a little bit. And let me know if you guys are on here and you need, you have any questions that you want me to pose. I can see your chats here, and so can everybody else, so feel free to chime in and ask some questions. I'll be keeping an eye on it as we go. What's up, Lisa Schwimmer? Lisa Schwimmer, Marrier. I'll always know you as Lisa Schwimmer, though, because the Schwimmer family. Rio's asking, what piano am I actually playing on? Good question. Very good question. This is a Yamaha Arius, but I'm not using the sound from the piano. I'm using a sound from a plugin called Alicia's Keys. In fact, I had turned the volume down on that yesterday because I was talking more, but now, there we go. Now you'll be able to hear it a little bit better. How's the balance, everybody? Is that if I'm talking and playing, can you understand what I'm saying? man. It was also an excuse to just start playing in the morning. Another reason that I started doing this. And we got my mom watching, we got Yale Cohn, Bill Singers. What's up, guys? How are you guys doing this morning? How's everybody faring during this whole during the whole insanity in the world with coronavirus? I've been keeping an eye a little bit on the numbers still, though we all have our job. It's to stay quarantined. I'm getting a little worried because I see protests. It's very problematic. We see people who don't think that it's real, and there's a whole faction of society that thinks it's a giant conspiracy theory, which is really not boding well for. But there's so many sort of built-in ironies and almost joke what do you call it? Like cosmic jokes to the whole thing. For those of you watching the stock market, yesterday oil tanked again, no pun intended, which was pretty wild. I did not expect that to happen again. But it just goes to show you that we're not done with this crisis as far as financial goes. Once we get through the bailout money that was just pumped into the economy, unless we go up to like a $10 trillion deficit from this particular, like an additional $8 trillion pumped into the market, we're going to see crazy deflation, and it's not going to look good. I mean, it's going to look good actually because it needed to happen. We were so overinflated for a period of time. But I'm concerned about it. Jesse Hansen says it's a roller coaster of emotions, but I'm hanging in there. Ordered 2 puzzles and 1 DVD this morning, just in case stay-at-home order is extended. Yeah, my personal prediction, I would bet that the stay-at-home order is going to be extended more and more because, well, first it's going to be lifted because everybody's protesting, and then what's going to happen is people are going to get sick again, like more people, and hospitals are going to get overloaded, and the government is going to recognize that despite all of the protests from people who are completely ignorant and have no idea what's actually going on and think it's a big conspiracy theory, it is real, and unless stay-at-home orders are extended for longer, then we're going to have to deal with the crisis all over again and deal with all these other peaks and valleys. That's one of the interesting things about a free society, right? And free speech, because I'm a big proponent of free speech, but it's also, the downside to it is you get misinformation because the people who really have no idea what they're talking about also are empowered to speak as much as the educated people, so you can't like quiet one and not quiet the other. So I'm for that system, but it requires the public to educate themselves, and some of us are, but too many people are not. Sukizzy says, it's nap time here, but I love these mornings. Thanks for this. You're welcome. This is going to be a fun one. Stick around, because Michael League is a force, and I'm really excited to ask him some questions and hang out with him. For those of you just tuning in right now, you're watching Mornings with Greg. I'm Greg. We have very special guest Michael League coming on in just a moment. Founder of Snarky Puppy. And some other really cool groups. So please share the stream and stick around. Shower going on right now? That's kind of cool. Well, I wonder if we can catch some of that. Let's see. It's called the Lyrid Meteor Shower. I don't know. Maybe we can like see some hashtags of meteor showers. Ooh, that's cool, but that was from a long time ago. You know what would be fun? Let's check out the Instagram world. Let's check out our, there's a segment that we'll do before Mike comes on. I'm gonna pull this up for you guys right here, and this is called this new very special segment that is curated specifically for you from my weekly piano account, which is sort of still a secret account on oh, there we go. It's called Puppies or Music. So we're following some accounts that show cute puppies in quarantine. Oh, look at the little guy. See, that would be so much fun to have a puppy like that in quarantine. Oh, I guess there's no sound. I would love to hear the sound that little puppy makes. Oh, an advertisement. There's a puppy. Oh, he's going to the doctor. Oh, he has to have a little checkup. Oh, okay, just get his little heart. Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, here's somebody playing some music. Woo! I love the background. I gotta do something like that with like the... Oh, hey, check that out. Little doggy taking a bath. There's a little doggy yawning. Oh, God. See, I can't stand the music that goes in these puppy videos is literally the most terrible music you'll ever hear. Okay, I've got to turn off the... There we go. Oh, ho, ho, it's really sweet, though. Where's all the music? I guess people are posting more puppy videos than music videos these days. Ooh, that looks like a cool compressor. Mm-hmm. Hey, Jam Cardigan! It's, yeah, Phil Cornish just made a really cool Sunday service keys thing. I assume he's playing for the Kanye Sunday service? I would imagine. I know, a few friends have been involved in that. It's a really cool, exciting project. Let me just make sure that we're not... Yeah, there we go. We're good. All right. Oh, advertisement. Okay, it's a weird doggy. Oh, hey, check this out. So this is going to be on today. I guess Brandy Younger, another really amazing musician and a good friend of mine. We've toured together a bunch with Mackay McCraven. She has she's curated this thing with me and a few other people where we are doing a live set later this evening. I don't know what time my set is. I guess 2 p.m. Eastern? Yeah, oh, that's coming up. So you can catch us all on the Act for Music page. Oh, and you can catch the puppy. Look at that little guy. That's interesting. I'm not sure the butterflies in the hair. That seems... I mean, I get the filter, but... Seems like unsanitary to have bugs in your hair. Saxophone photo. Now we're all caught up. Ooh, what's this? Let's listen to this. My mind into cargo ships and barks, trying to keep the world in turn. All these moving parts. So this is... None of it check this out. You. Won't you take my hand, baby? So this is in 5. This is something that in the music world we've been calling bass 5. It's a that's funny. Yeah, so check this out. It's called well, it's really just 5/16, but it's actually 20/16 when it's divided into quarter notes that sound sort of like a that sounds sort of like somebody said that's not a puppy. I'm not sure which one you were referring to. The thing is, it's so much easier to look at Instagram videos of puppies than it is to have a puppy. Because having a puppy requires that you are, picking up poop and training it and all these things. And, you can look on Instagram and then you can just step away from it. It's like children. Having a child is a lot different than, having kids around. Or, having a grandkid, for example. Not that I have a grandkid, or any kid for that matter. But yeah, one of my recent compositions is in that bass 5 time signature though. Meant to be played actually a lot faster than that. But anyway, hey, guess what? Michael League is on the line, so I'm gonna welcome him in here, real quick. Going to our guest panel here, and it's Mike. Yo, how's it going, man? Good to see you. And yes, all right, I got your audio now.
Yours
awesome.
Too.
Awesome. Beautiful, man. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, no worries. It's not as early for me as it is for you. So.
What time is it over there?
4:30 in the afternoon.
4:30. So you're in Spain right now.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing over there? Why?
I live here.
You live in? How long have you lived in Spain?
I bought a home here. Um, that sounds like I have multiple homes. I bought my home here
Uh-huh.
like 2 years ago.
Mm.
But I've been kind of living here more or less for like the last 5 years. Basically whenever I was off tour, that's where I would go. I mean, I had an apartment. Well, I went like 3 years without an apartment in New York.
Hmm.
So during those years, I wasn't there. And then the last kind of 3 years, I had one in New York, but I was spending more time overseas, so it was easier for me to
Wow.
go to Spain. And then finally, I was just like, you know what, this is awesome. I love it. And I've been in New York 10 years. I had a lot of fun, and I love that city. But I was looking for a different kind of pace for my life.
Hmm. Yeah, I believe it. That was that the major impetus for moving out there? Was it just because I know the Spanish vibe is. Well, what city are you in, by the way?
I'm in Cadiz right now, but which is in the south. Like Cadiz is like it's like near Morocco, basically. Like the southern tip.
It's gorgeous out there.
It is, yeah. But actually, I live in Catalonia. I live 1 hour from Barcelona, in a little super tiny village in like the countryside. It's like like really middle of nowhere. Like if you tell somebody there from there, like when I tell people like, yeah, I live, here. They're like, where? And I'm like, there. And they're like, why would you live there?
No,
Like, exactly. The fact that you asked me that means that it's cheap. It's great.
Uh-huh.
It's awesome.
I understand that, man. I completely understand that. When I was like, this was like 3 years ago. So I was engaged to this woman. Her name's Kristen, and it didn't work out. Obviously, we're still friends, but we were like figuring out where we were going to live, and she lived in Atlanta, but her sister had a place in a little town called Miolia. It's like 2 hours south of Milan in Italy. And we were able to get an apartment out there. We paid like 4 years rent at like $350 a month for like, it's like a 3-bedroom apartment and like a beautiful place in this tiny little town of 500 people. And that became, she's still out there actually most of the time, but that became where I went when I was off tour. And it was the most freeing thing to be out of the fray and able to focus and like center myself in an area where there are no distractions, but there's beauty and there's small town vibe. It was a path that I'll do that again at some point. I'll get a place somewhere where I can escape from the insanity of our, like American hyper-capitalist world, which has its advantages. I'm not like against it, but just like you have to escape at a point to keep your sanity, I think.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, for me, it was a really good contrast to being on tour, because on like an 8-month tour and then going home to New York City is not relaxing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's as intense a tour,
Yeah.
Unless you have the money to afford a more relaxing experience in New York, which I never did, so it just felt right at a certain point. I was like, you know what? This is like, and also, I was just thinking like, what are my priorities moving forward? How do I want my life to look? And really a lot of it's just producing and composing. That's like really what I want to, and, doing things that are like a little less mobile, and New York is phenomenal for so many things, but it's not the best place to just sit in your house and be creative. It's a great place to go out and be creative and mingle and meet people and be inspired. But your house is the last place that you go in New York, and so it just seemed right. And I mean, it sounds like, oh, a little village in Spain or like a little village in Italy, like you said. It sounds like super glamorous and like, only like, oh, it must be super expensive. It's like so much cheaper.
Yeah.
It's so much cheaper to live there than even living in like a super normal shitty suburb of any major metropolitan area.
Totally.
In the, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so like my annual taxes in the Village are under $100. My property tax,
that's pretty wild, actually.
For being a homeowner was like 96 euros or something. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, it's a little more than $50. It's like $110, you know? But it was like such a trip. It was like, what?
Yeah.
And so that was another big thing, was just the idea of, if I'm living a life that's cheaper to live, then I don't have to take gigs for money. You know what I mean? I can produce a record for a folkloric artist that's going to pay me not very much, and I'm going to love it, without needing to do some pop gig that I hate to make money to afford like a really expensive play. You know, so it's also kind of a gateway to open up creative possibilities, which is cool. Yeah, a lot of reasons. There's a million reasons, but yeah.
That is very interesting. It's so interesting for me to hear you speak about money, because it's, and I've thought about this so much, because we're in the creative instrumental music world, right? It's a microcosm in the grand scheme of things, and it's not, you don't get into this world to be financially successful. It's like you go become a stockbroker or investor or business, get an MBA, and if you want to focus your life on money, like nobody comes into this thinking I'm gonna get rich. But there are some people who've been able to find major success in their groups, and there are really just a few at this point. You're one of them, which is why I'm interested to pick your brain on certain aspects of how you got to where you are. But the interesting thing to me is, like, so there's Snarky Puppy, right? It's at the it's one of these groups at the pinnacle of attention in our creative instrumental music world, and you're able to play big festivals, get big draws. It's like you, Kamasi Washington, Thundercat, like there are a few groups that can do that. But still, like I'm curious of how you balance the dichotomy of the success of your group and the management of that financially, because there's a lot of money to deal with. That doesn't mean that you're making a lot of money, but there's a lot of money to deal with. There's a lot of throughput and a lot of people who are hired. How do you think about all of that, and what are your, like, your what's your mindset as you deal with this major success of an instrumental group?
Well, it happened really slowly, you know. I mean, the band's been around 16 years, and it was financially ruinous for the first 9. You know, the 10th year was the first year that we broke even. And, you know, it was losing money before that. And, you know, I didn't have any money to lose, you know, so I was like maxing out credit cards. I was being dumb and young. And I got lucky that the investment ended up panning out.
How old were you when you started the group?
20 or 19 or 20. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So 15, 16
we were
years
all,
ago.
Yeah, we were all 20, 21, you know, when it started. So, yeah, I mean, you know, when it finally started to make money, then it was like, okay, well, let's just start getting the things that we always needed: a tour manager and a drum tech and a sound engineer and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, it started just building slowly. And, you know, we got a manager then, and he's really responsible with money. We hired 2 accountants, one for international touring, one for domestic touring. So, you know, I'm not the one like managing the money. I think that's important. I used to be, but I think once we graduated to a level where it's like, okay, this band is now providing its members with their primary source of income, we need a professional in there, you know. So the accountants took over and started.
It gets very complicated very quickly.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And but I mean, as far as like my philosophy towards it, I've always just seen money as, you know, potential for opportunities, and that's how I spend it. You know what I mean? Like we first and foremost put the touring experience ahead of everything else. We want everybody to be comfortable, everybody in the band and the crew to be comfortable. Band and crew are treated totally equally. You know, we make sure that that everybody is getting good, healthy food. now we've started making sure that everybody gets sleep. We've started scheduling tours to where,
Wow.
Which is a huge step,
That's
to
awesome.
say.
Yeah, I've never been in a group. Even when I was in a major pop group, we did not get sleep. People generally don't do that for their people.
And if I were starting the band now, I don't know that I would have that philosophy, but the fact that we've just been on the road so many months a year for so many years, it's like, I don't want to kill these people.
Yeah, totally.
And not sleeping kills you.
Yeah.
Slowly, sometimes quickly, but normally slowly. And I don't want to die like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to put myself through that anymore, because I went probably a decade of my life without a single night of complete sleep. You know what I mean? And it was a mess, as most musicians would probably say.
Yeah,
it's just not, our career is not conducive to that, to resting and consistency and routines. And so that's where I go with money wise. I'm just thinking about making everybody's experience cool and investing in cool projects that we can do, as a band, making cool albums and doing unique things and using the money in that kind of way. I don't even think of myself as having a bank account, really. You know what I mean? I just feel like it just goes to the label, or it goes to the festival.
Yeah. Well, it seems as though to get through those first 10 years, that has to be the last thing on your mind. Like the reason, like the reason that keeps you going for each of those, those 10 years of losing money and building and creating this group that is now major successful. It's like, I mean, why did you keep going? What kept your heart in it for those 10 years that you were just grinding?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Super fun. I mean, and the guys and girls at that time, there were, in like the beginning, it was a group of people that were like fun and young and crazy, and it was like, and it was becoming a family. And then it was really darkest like 7 years in, 8 years in, like just before we start, because that's when I was losing the most money. And watching the clock, like, when is this gonna happen?
Yeah, but you kept that in your mind that it was going to happen. Did you know for sure? Like, did you have confidence?
No. No, I had no confidence it was going to happen. I mean, I definitely like hung on to little victories. If a cool musician that I admired came to a gig and was like, "Hey man, sounds great, keep going," I'd be like, "Okay, I'll tell myself that the next 3 weeks as I don't sleep and lose a bunch of money and play for 4 people." But we were all doing that, and I think the most important thing is like the thing that motivates you has to be a kind of untouchable thing. It can't be. It has to be music. It has to be love of music, or it has to be an ideal. Because if it's a physical thing, if it's money, good luck. If it's fans, good luck. Even if it's band members, if that's why you're doing it, for your band members, even that can sour. And fortunately in Snarky Puppy, it almost never has, but I mean, people have come and gone, but it's always been cool, the terms have always been cool. But I think when it's like music, I'm doing it for music, or I'm doing it to grow in music, and we all have that mentality and love of that thing and of developing something together, that keeps you headed forward, even when everything around you is very, very dark.
Yeah, that's a constant that I seem with people who find success at some point. There generally tends to be the mentality of, I am, for whatever reason, just enthralled and obsessed with the concept of music and in love with it. And I mean, that's how I've felt for my life. But I also, when I talk to, for example, Mackay McCraven, who's getting some well-deserved success now, throughout the entire time that I've known him, like 12 or 13 years, he has been specifically about diving into music and then putting it out and hoping that maybe somebody caught on to it and maybe a career happened from it, but that was like secondary to this obsession with a concept. It's interesting to me.
Well, I mean, we think about success as like a thing, like a goal or an object, but it's not. Success is just a consequence, of something that you've been doing. You can't be successful at being successful. You have to be successful at something. Like, I'm successful at success. No, you're not. You're successful at something. It could be lying, it could be cheating, it could be horrible things, but success is not the thing. The thing is the thing, and success is the consequence of it. So, I think when it happens, it should really feel like, oh, whoa, cool, rather than like, finally, thank God, that's what I've been going after. You know what I mean? It's not it's like, really, and I think ironically, the people who really want it more than anything else, people that want success, are the least likely to get it. The people who are obsessed with their art form or with their craft or with whatever it is, they're the ones that are actually likely to get it. You know what I mean? Because they're setting themselves up on the path that has that consequence.
Well, and they're setting themselves up for consistency. That's one of the things that if you're just chasing success, you will pivot around every corner and chase the shiny object. But if you're working on a concept that you love, you will dig into that concept despite all of the external consequences, and then ideally, hopefully, that those external consequences manifest into something that is like that will make your life more comfortable in terms of financial success, so that you can live wherever you want to live and work on the things that you want to work on while having access to like good food and healthcare, basically.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, also, I think it's just about like, just being persistent.
Yeah. Well, that's
go for it.
That's one of the things that I knew this about your journey to some extent. I didn't realize it was 15 years. I knew it was at least 10, but that's one of the things that, like, you look at the success of Snarky Puppy, and the main thread that I see, I mean, aside from obviously it has to be great music for it to like be in this particular genre and get that level of attention. The music has to be great, but if you have great music, which a lot of people do, the other element that I see in your group that I just you don't see very many groups that have lasted for 15 years. I mean, much less 8 or 9 when it got the hardest for you at that point in the journey. Like, people tend to give up or pivot but you had this single group with this single name, and I remember you telling me about it in New York at that bar when we met like 10 years ago, and the single group with the single name with the single concept that aligns with you and who you are, and that's what you saw through to the end. That's like the thing that I see different about Snarky Puppy.
Yeah, I mean, we have certain things in place that make it easier to do that. All the members of the band have solo careers, and that's not only like allowed, which is funny to even think that somebody would not allow your band member to have another band, but it's really highly encouraged. I mean, everyone in the band is encouraging about other people in the band doing their own things and exploring and growing musically, because they bring those experiences and the things that they've learned from those experiences back into the band, and the band grows, secondhand from that, and we have a large group of people. So if one of our drummers can't make it, we call the other one. If he can't make it, we call the third one, and things like that allow for a thing to last longer, for sure. I've seen great bands come and go because there were 2 band leaders, and at a certain point they couldn't agree, and then the band's dead, And what a waste, I mean, what a waste to put so much blood, sweat, and tears into a thing and then throw it away, and that kept me going in the hardest times too. The idea of like, man, the members of this band have really sacrificed a lot to get where we are, even though we're not anywhere, but to get where we are, and it would just be like, what a waste to throw all that away, and kind of like, thanks for your sacrifices, but this isn't working for me anymore. So I think the guilt factor definitely kept me going a little in some rough moments.
That's interesting. I think a lot of people, it doesn't just apply to the music world. A lot of people put a lot of work into something, and then when it gets to the hardest hour, that's when they throw in the cards, because that's the easiest time to do it.
Yeah, and also you don't know what the hardest hour will be. You only know up until that point what the hardest hour is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it can always get harder.
It can always get harder, but it can also always get a lot easier. And in that moment, you might think it's always going to be this hard. Mm-hmm. But really, if you just see through until the wave crests, sometimes then it's just like, oh, shit, now it looks easier.
Yeah, there's a great Chinese proverb about that says the hardest step in a journey, the two hardest steps in the journey to take are the first step and the very last step.
Yeah. Although I do think that it gets really tough in the middle.
Yeah,
it's very, very hard in the middle once the honeymoon is over and you're dealing with the nuts and bolts of the thing.
Sounds like a marriage to me.
I mean, I wouldn't know, but I would guess it's, I would guess.
I don't know either, but from what people have told me, seems like it's great for a little while, and then you really get into the nuts and bolts of it, and you're like, okay, we're here, and we have to figure this shit out. It's like any commitment. It's a commitment. Like,
yeah.
So I'm going to pivot a little bit because I have a couple specific questions for you, and one has to do with lifestyle. Like, so you did this, obviously you were touring and you were not sleeping much, and now you're trying to get more sleep, and you give your band members more sleep. But have you thought about diet, nutrition, and exercise, and how that plays into your capability and your ability to be as productive as you've been?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, when we're on tour, the band, everybody exercises, I think. You know, for me, it's swimming. That's my thing that I love to do, because I have real back issues.
Okay.
Like I've had some terrible moments on tour, and swimming is like awesome for that. And I just learned actually last year. I had never learned how to swim. At 35 years old, I learned how to swim, and so nice. I got obsessed with it, you know. I mean, I'm not a great swimmer, but
Now, when you say you didn't know how to swim before this, do you mean you really didn't know how to swim? Like, if you were thrown in a pool, you would drown, or... Wow. That's impressive. And you learned at this age to keep yourself afloat and to be able to swim laps, and you do it for exercise now.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's great. It's awesome. I love it. Go.
I always sucked at swimming, and I started about a year ago also. We're the same age. I'm 35, and it has been such I've always had lower back issues too. And on tour, after all the flights and everything, I would come home, I would see the chiropractor, I'd be in so much pain. But after swimming and doing it consistently, it fixes so many balance issues in the body. And I read a book that changed the way that that made it so that I can do it consistently for exercise. It's called Total Immersion. Have you ever heard of that book? Oh man. Okay. No. That's going to blow your mind. If you swim for exercise now and you don't know about total immersion, I would highly, highly recommend picking that up and just skimming through it, because the techniques transform the way that you swim entirely and turn it into this thing that you can sustain for much longer periods of time. Like, I hated swimming until I read this book, and actually only read the first half of it, and then it like completely changed my form and allowed me to go from, I mean, I couldn't do more than 10 minutes in a pool. Now I can do an hour of just like consistently going back and forth.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got to check it out. It definitely wears me out. You know, I'm not in great shape, and especially now, this is like now we're ending like the 5th week of quarantine.
Yeah. You can't swim during this period, can you?
We can't even walk. We're not allowed to go out.
That's wild. What does it look like there? I heard there were like drones in the streets that are monitoring people. Is that true?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but it's Spain, so it's like it's pretty low key. Like, they're not like it's not an aggressive culture.
Uh-huh.
So they just do a lot of very strong recommending that people. Well, I mean, it's mandatory to stay inside, but if you're out not going grocery shopping, the cops will definitely stop you and be like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And then you'll be like, "Oh, I'm just taking a walk." And they'll be like, "Take your ass home," and you go home. I mean, it's not crazy. It's not. But I've been really amazed at how obedient and responsible the people here have been.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just comparing it, especially with the U.S., it's like, oh my God. Although in the U.S., the stay-at-home stuff isn't even really mandatory. It's just like, we really want you all to stay at home. But here, it's like, if you run a bar, if you run a restaurant, it's closed. Mm-hmm. If you have a clothing store, it's closed. Only essential services. And
in Los Angeles, it's mandatory now. They made it mandatory here. Yeah, so if you don't have an essential service, you're not allowed to be running your business.
And you're not allowed to be outside. But you can go running, though. You can go to the park, right?
You can. Yeah. You can go to the park here. That is a thing. But they are closing a lot of the parks now because that was the place everybody was going. And I know you're not allowed to be on the beach at this point. So my cousin tried to go to the beach the other day, and there was an officer there, and they were like, "No, you got to go." And there was nobody else on the beach. I mean, it's real.
Yeah, it's definitely real. So I'm not exercising now. I've been doing some stuff like stretching and just stuff I can do in the house, but I'm not really good at having like a really balanced schedule. This is the most routine of a routine that I've ever seen in my life. These 5 weeks here, and I'm but there's always more you can do. Exercise is not really getting the attention it needs. Cooking is getting a lot of attention.
Okay.
Practicing is getting attention. Composing is getting attention. I'm learning some, doing Duolingo and stuff. But outside of that,
what language are you learning on Duolingo?
Catalan.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because I know they don't like talking in Spanish where I live. They do it with me because they're nice, but they don't. They want to speak their shit. So I'm I want to get on the same page as them.
Yeah, I remember trying to speak that when I knew Spanish. I was like, oh, I could probably wing it. No, you can't wing it.
Can't wing it, yeah. I mean, certain things you can get away with, but it's a beast, dude. It's much more of a beast than I thought. Once I started like getting under the hood, I was like, oh man, this is way harder than Spanish.
Yeah.
Way less rules, way more exceptions when there are rules. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great.
It's interesting. I'm learning Japanese on Duolingo. I feel like Duolingo must be like making an absolute killing right now because everybody's at home. They're like, what can I do to improve myself right now? Which is sort of an amazing blessing, right? I mean, there are silver linings all over the place for this thing. It's a giant catastrophe, but people are being forced to self-reflect in a way that I don't think people have ever had to on the micro and the macro level. Yeah. I mean, I think, it's a really, really, hard and horrible time for a lot of people. And for those people that it's not a hard and horrible time for, like me, my business is, in danger, of course, but I'm not physically in danger. I'm, for me, it's like no one's going to benefit from me being miserable if I don't have to be miserable, So I think that if we're in a position in which we're not suffering greatly or directly, I think the best thing you can do actually for the world, aside from staying at home, is try to create positive practices to make yourself happy, because, like learn stuff, exercise, practice, read, learn some skills, that you didn't have, whatever. I think it's actually kind of like the I was reading an article that I loved that was like, basically saying like staying at home and being happy and productive and efficient, or not being efficient, just being at home and enjoying the time the best you can is like the greatest service you can perform for your nation. It's not like a break from your service and your life
you know, the way in which you serve the world. It is the way in which you serve the world now. And so if we're fortunate enough to not be in a terrible spot, or sick, you know, I think it's like, yeah, it's like our job. Stay at home and learn some shit. It's great.
That's cool.
You know?
Have you been reading, learning other things aside from Catalan?
I do Duolingo in the morning right when I wake up, and then and I've been practicing these 2 instruments that I'm trying to learn, and I've been reading. I just finished a book. Another one. I did those. You've all know Harari books, *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*.
Oh yeah, nice. I read *Sapiens* not too long ago.
Yeah, it's great. It's cool. And he wrote a really interesting article about what's going on right now. That's like up on the internet, free to read. That is very interesting.
I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah, *Sapiens* is very telling about. Actually, it has applications to what is going on right now.
Ooh, big time. Yeah. Wow, it has applications to everything, right? Biology, but anthropology. But yeah, and I'm trying to really learn how to cook, actually, because I love cooking, but it's always just kind of like a crapshoot. Okay. You know, when I'm in the kitchen, it's like, this could turn out awesome, this could turn out terrible.
Yeah.
So I've been like cooking at least once a day, but mostly twice a day, and trying to like get a little like recipe book together in my head, trying to like make notes on things in a document on my computer, so that when I'm like looking to cook something, I can be like, oh, here are the things that I've made before. And
nice.
And really maybe the most important thing, just like trying to like relax and like at the end of the night, like after dinner, I don't really work most nights. I'm at my girlfriend's house, so we'll hang out and like watch a movie or a series. We've been like crushing series on Netflix, and it's great. Like,
nice. What have you been watching on Netflix? What's your favorite so far?
We destroyed Rick and Morty very quickly.
Yes. Oh, I love Rick and Morty.
And then we
Snake Jazz.
Yeah, and then we watched The Tiger King.
Oh God, you watched that? Jesus Christ!
On some basic bitch shit right now, you know.
I have not dove into that, but I had a whole argument with Brandy Younger the other day on an episode about Tiger King, and I promised that if I do watch it, I'll watch it like as a live stream, and so we can all kind of enjoy the insanity and debauchery together. But Jesus Christ,
you gotta see it. I mean, you gotta see it. It's crazy, and then now we're on season 3 of Big Mouth. Becca Stevens put me onto Big Mouth.
Oh.
It's like her favorite show, which I really love.
I haven't heard of that.
Maya Rudolph. It's animated also. It's just like about super pubescent teenage kids. It's a cartoon. Maya Rudolph, Jordan Peele. A lot of great.
Nice. So
a lot of great actors. Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. So, you know, like that's cool too, like working all day and then shutting it off at night. Like once I have the first bite, once I start cooking dinner basically, which is normally like 11 p.m., then it's like off the clock. And it's cool because I can enjoy myself at night knowing that I got things done. I'm the kind of person that can't really turn off that switch if I feel like I haven't been productive, or if I have to do something every day to make me feel like I've gotten better at something.
Are you working are you doing productive full-on work days before you hit that point in the evening?
Yeah. I mean, I wake up at like, you know, my schedule's set back a little bit, so I wake up around noon, 11:30 or noon, and then I work until like 4 or 5, and then we have lunch, and then I work until like 11. So I'm doing like 8 hours, 8 or 9 hours of practicing language and composing. And mostly what I'm doing right now is composing. I'm writing a record.
This is your solo record, right? That you're focusing on right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited
for that. Time. Thanks, man. Yeah, maybe it'll suck. It's so funny because with Snarky Puppy, it's like, you know, I always feel like, man, it's never going to suck. Maybe it won't be great, but, you know, there's all these guys. there's all these guys to lean on. You know what I mean? It's like I can just write to the worst song ever and bring it in, and it's gonna totally get rocked. You know, the guys are gonna come in and be like, we need to, you know. But with my record, it's like I'm gonna be the only one playing. I'm gonna be the only one singing. I'm gonna be the only one producing. So it's like it could really be terrible.
So this is entirely that's funny. It's not, I would play if I had to bet money. I would bet that it will be amazing. But if you are you not having anybody else play on it? Are you just playing all the parts yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have an engineer.
Okay.
Nick Hart, the guy that does all the Snarky Puppy stuff and Bo Conte stuff. But yeah, no, I'm gonna play everything and sing everything. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's quite an adventure, man. I know that feeling, diving into that creative pool where you're the only one keeping yourself afloat.
I don't know that feeling. I've never done that because I've always had bands. Bo Conte, Snarky Puppy, you know, any other band, you know, I was a sideman in, but as a leader, I always have like a large group of people. And I really don't know that, you know, and that's why this record took so long to make. I wanted to make it 5 years ago, and I just never got the ball rolling because I had too many commitments to those other groups with people relying on me. And now it's like, well, what are we going to do? You know, I was just sitting around. Who knows when we're going to tour again? 2020, you know?
Yeah, right.
Who knows? You know, so now's the time. And I'm going to write this book that I've been wanting to write about, like the first 10 years of Snarky Puppy. It's kind of like, not like a tutorial, but it's kind of just like advice for people who are playing music in a DIY kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. I would love to read that book. I'll be excited for that. And then you also have a record out, a new record with Snarky Puppy, right? It's live at Royal Albert Hall. I listened to that. I listened to that in full yesterday, as that was my prep for our talk today. I love being able to do musical prep and just enjoy an album. But man, that shit was absolute fire.
Thanks, man.
When you talk about the when you talk about the expertise of the band members playing into the excellence of the music, it's like that comes out so poignantly in the moments of that record. And so some interesting, one very interesting aspect that I feel like a lot of people are having a challenge getting right now in the world that is very short attention span based is genuine compositional development in both songs and solos. And there are chops on the record because people have chops, but the focus is this very thoughtful musical landscape that's created, and like playing on that landscape without the ego that you often see when people are trying to when people put out a piece of work like that.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, I think the band is a song band. You know, I think the band has much more in common with popular music than it does with jazz. You know, in terms of the devices used and the focus. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, you can walk into a jazz club and hear really great players playing, and if you come in after the head, you know, if you walk into the club during the solo section, you might go the entire tune without knowing what the song is. You know what I mean? Until the head comes in at the end. And if you walk in the middle of a Police song, you know what I mean? You're gonna hear like 3 choruses at least. You might miss 2, but you're gonna hear 3. You know, and I think the band has more of that. Even though we're jazz musicians, I think we have that perspective of like every song is a world unto itself, and we're serving songs. And if you get out of that, if you do indulge your ego or you start chopping out or whatever, it feels out of place. And the rest of the band kind of like keeps you in check. Like, where are you going? You know, like we're here. And that's, you know, maybe that's one of the reasons why the band has lasted so long, or why people who normally don't listen to instrumental music like it. I think because it's you know, it's about the songs. maybe the songs suck, maybe the songs are cool, I don't know, but at least it's about songs, you know.
Well, I think that's why you've been able to
and
convert so many people of a generation that was not listening to that type of music. You've been able to convert them into trying out and then loving creative instrumental music because there's something familiar that they can associate with.
Well, I think we're just also, if you think about why doesn't modern aggressive jazz tick that box for people? Why would Snarky Puppy tick that box? And something like modern and jazzy, not. And I think you just look at the elements. How long are the solos? How long are the melodies? Like, think about like a football game. Like, what's the time of possession between solos and melodies? Look at the form. Most jazz musicians will play the catchiest part of the song at the beginning and at the end, and that will occupy 10% of the song. And in the middle, people being expressive and soloing and probably playing very well, but you never have things that like...
There's no reference point.
Yeah, and if you look at a pop song goes verse, the most boring part of the song, pre-chorus, something with tension to build, chorus, the payoff, and then after the sweets, you go back, right? Normally it's verse, pre-chorus, chorus again, right? And then after that, normally it's the bridge, which is the like, okay, now we've ingested the song, I'm in the mood for something different and maybe something a little outside. The bridge isn't, and our song forms are not necessarily like that, ABC, ABCD, but, it's just, I remember being, in jazz college and afterwards playing loads of straight ahead gigs or even original music gigs, but all those devices that are in popular music that really hook you in like that, or like the idea of like, hey, we've done ABC, now let's go DEF. Let's go on a new journey.
But still developing in relation to A, B, C, and D.
What came before, right? And like thinking about contours and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, I was just amazed at how little people think about that in jazz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And of course, I'm not talking about every jazz musician. I mean, there are loads of, especially now, man, incredible composers doing super unique and hip things. But I'm talking about the scene that I was a part of when I was in school and just after. I think it was the last breath of that kind of like hard-nosed, if you can't bop, you're not worth anything. The more complex the time signature and groove, the better. The last breath of that kind of attitude. And thank God that's changed, thanks to people like Roy Hargrove and Robert Glasper and Esperanza. And, a lot of those artists really were like, no. We can make stuff that's accessible deep, but it's, like I said, I don't know if we're writing good music, but I do know that if you want to look at it in terms of like, you want to look at the skeleton of it, the skeleton of what we're doing is much more reminiscent of pop music than it is, not Rihanna pop music, but you know what I mean? Like Stevie Wonder.
You're using the meat and potatoes of these great songwriters and what they did to engage people to come into the world of a song, and you're creating a world. Whereas, that's also, I can't remember who said it, but there was somebody who talked about like the idea of playing as much as possible, which a lot of people are doing, and the most that you can play is literally white noise. Like that's the extent to playing as much as possible as far as notes and ideas. Like the more you put into a thing, the more convoluted it becomes, and where the artistry lies is taking away taking away the unnecessary elements and creating your own sort of musical space through which you can explore using itself as a reference point. And that's the thing that it seems that you guys do so well, and that's what pop music does too. That's what composition is, whereas the rest is just sort of athletics.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not a thing that we were doing to reach people. It's a thing that that we're doing because that's how I like to listen to music. If someone's like, would you rather listen to somebody play Just Friends or would you rather listen to Overjoyed by Stevie Wonder? It's like, dude, come on, man.
Totally.
Just Friends is a nice song. It's nice. I don't think you can stand it up against Overjoyed. You know what I mean? And yeah, and that's where it's coming from. Just the desire to, we want to make music that we enjoy playing. And you don't want to get, it's just, I just think if everybody puts a little extra thought into things, it really adds up. I mean, I just think about, once again, going back to that time where everything was just taken for granted. Okay, oh, there's a funky vamp, like a groovy vamp, there's going to be a drum solo at the end of the song, And on the last hit. Like, oh, we're going to trade. It's either going to be 8s, 16s, 4s, or 2s. Why don't we trade without setting a number of bars? Why don't you take over when I finish my phrase? Why is it always 4, 8, or 6? You know what I mean? These kinds of things of like, why do we just take for granted that it needs to be this way? These devices that we use when we play and compose. So for me, I could really get a kick out of like writing songs and just trying to abandon all those devices and trying to come up with new ones. Sometimes it's painful because the shit doesn't work, or it takes years for it to work. But then at least you have something different, like, oh, man.
Well, that's the risk of doing anything innovative, is you don't know if it's going to work because nobody's done it exactly like that to show that it works exactly like that, and that's why there are a lot of people who try to do the things that have already been proven. But you don't get something exciting when you regurgitate that which has already been proven. Right,
and I mean, I've never done anything new in my life. There's nothing that Snarky Puppy or that is doing or that I'm doing that hasn't been done by somebody probably better. I mean, it's like at this point in music, I think it's kind of hard to, I mean, I don't want to say to innovate because people can absolutely innovate by combining new things or looking at things in a new way. But, it's just like anything that we do or that I do as a composer where you're like, oh, wow, that's different from normal. It's maybe different from 95% of the stuff you hear, but it's stolen from the other 5%.
Well, that's something that aligns with the Quincy Jones quote that is where he says very confidently that there is literally nothing new to be done in music in general, and there hasn't been. Almost, that quote could actually be said at any point in history because it's all references unto itself and that which came before it. You listen to any melody that anybody has played, even a Stevie Wonder melody or any of the pop melodies now, which are much more homogeneous than even from that era. You go back to Bach, and he's played all of it in one way or another. It's in some piece.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, if you think about music as a language, it's like, are you innovating English right now? Am I innovating English?
No, you're using English to express. You're expressing you. Yeah. You're expressing a uniqueness, but you're using the references of that which came before. And speaking,
and I'm putting the words in a certain order that is typical of me.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of which, I'm enjoying this conversation so much, man, and I know I'm keeping you so much over when I promised you I would let you go. So you can go if you want to, but I'd really love to hear a little bit of these instruments that you're working on now. If you would grace us with that, if you have time.
Yeah, sure. I'll play like a little groove on. This is it's like a goblet shaped drum. It's the most common name for it is darbuka. But darbuka, I mean, depending on what part of the world you're in, like there's a million different names. Tabla, darbuka. This one is made of clay. It's very fragile, and goatskin on the head. And it's because of there are different sizes. So the high little one is called solo. The middle one, this one is the middle one, sumbati. And the big bass one, which is the one that I normally play, is called dohola, which is a big bass darbuka. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like a student of this one and the other one that I'm playing, but Yeah, they're super fun. I mean, I love this because normally you see a darbuka and it's got a plastic head, and a metal, or like a metal body or a plastic body, but this has a really beautiful sound with the goat skin and the clay. Wait, I'm just gonna kick my mic down a little bit so you hear it. Nice, just a nice sounding thing. So I'll play maybe a groove that what did I play? This is a groove from Azerbaijan that I'm in love with. I'm sure I'm not playing it with the right feel, but I just love the vibe of it. So it's in 6, but you feel it in 4, I guess. So. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, cool.
I love the bass pattern. I mean, they'll play it really fast. It's a typical groove. So. I love it. It's
that's awesome, man. That makes me want to get up and dance.
Yeah, I mean, especially. Right, and I mean, I love stuff like that because it as being a bass player, I never lived in that. I always loved percussion and drums, but really getting underneath and seeing like what's going on and what makes certain grooves tick. It's so math, but in such a sexy way,
Sexy math, yes. Well, it probably informs your composition and bass playing as well. To dive into things like that.
I'll practice a lot of bass, but learning that kind of stuff, it's like it immediately translates. And also, I just like realizing that my time totally sucks. From playing percussion. When you start playing percussion, you're like, oh my God, because as a bass player, you're just used to playing with other people. So your time is only as good or bad as theirs. If you're with a great drummer, people think you have amazing time, Right. But then when you're the one supplying the groove, it's like, oh shit, like it's sobering. The metronome has become my my whip.
That was the reason that I started my group that I originally called Polyrhythmic was because I needed to kick my own ass in terms of time and polyrhythms. I was playing with these drummers who had it so together, and I realized that was my weakest point. So I wrote songs that would make me lock it in order to even be able to play the shit that I was writing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's I think as long as we challenge ourselves, it's moving in the right direction. But it's like incredible how weak. I just never realized it. Like how weak my time was.
Well, yeah, when you get with people who are their entire life is based around time. I mean, this must be the case in your group, Bacante. This is you're playing other instruments and like exploring elements of world music that are, I mean, they're foreign to me and it's very interesting to me, but it a lot of that brings in rhythm that kind of kicks your ass from different directions that you never would have expected.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature, I think, of having three percussionists in a band, no drum set player, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no leader. It's just the three of them are equal, and they're all very unique,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it leads to some really interesting possibilities. And yeah, that band for me has really been like you created your band for the rhythmic thing. I created this band, I think, to stretch myself with like, what can I do with songs with two chords,
Mm.
you know? And that's because I really hear music that way. I love harmony. I'm like it's one of my favorite things about music, but because I listen to so much music that is like one chord or two chords, you know, I hear a lot of grooves like that, and I've had to just kind of like use them one section at a time in Snarky Puppy because it just doesn't really fit, you know. Although we've been like, all right, this Snarky Puppy song is going to have four chords, you know, or whatever. But
You guys go way far in terms of harmonic exploration.
yeah, because we love it, you know. I love it. But it's been cool, like writing for Bocante and really thinking about things from a rhythmic perspective, you know, and a melodic perspective, and like, what can we do inside of this groove, you know. So it's been fun, and you know, the less you have going on harmonically, the more space there is for the percussionists to be amazing, you know. Mm-hmm. And they're just amazing. They're wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, some of the people. I mean, that's you know. There are various genres that have come from different locations in Africa that are generally one quality, one general truism is that rhythm and melody are at the absolute forefront. Like those are the two aspects that are, and because they're at the absolute forefront, there's so much depth to it, and there's so much intricacy within the. I mean, I remember when I was in college, they had a drum group from, I think it was maybe, I can't remember, I think it was from Uganda, and they came in and did a master class for us, like over a series of days, and got into it, and what they were playing for us and what I attempted to get at the time, which is what spawned my dream of going to study in Africa at some point of hand percussion, which I'm gonna do. That the interesting and amazing thing was there was no one. Everybody had a different center point in this cyclical motion that was going through, and it was so perfectly locked in this perfect intricate groove without the reference point that in Western music we are so dependent on all the time.
Yeah, well, I think it's a natural way of thinking about music, of like, even my teacher for actually for both instruments, for both the gimbri, like the Moroccan bass, and the drum that I was just playing, when I asked them to count things for me, a lot of the time, more so the Moroccan vibe, but also sometimes with my teacher in Turkey, they're like, well, I don't know, let me play it for a second, and then they'll play, and the first note that they play is not beat one. Mm-hmm. It'll be a pickup, or it'll be something after one, but it's, for them, that's where the phrase starts. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's a more natural way, really, of looking about music. Like one. I mean, it's kind of arbitrary in a way, like not where you place one, because one is a feeling. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, if we take the same rhythm and we put one in different places, the rhythm will feel different. I believe that for sure. I don't believe that all rhythms are like equal and all perspectives are equal. I believe that we all feel, even if we don't know that we're calling it one.
There's a centerpiece somewhere.
You know, like flamenco, for example, like, you know, they call it like flamenco count, mm-hmm. which is like bulerias is in 12. It's 12 counts, right? It's in 3, it's in 6, however you want to think about it. And the way they count it is 2, 1, 2. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy? And you know, I try my hardest to study with people who like don't teach. Uh-huh. normally. You know what I mean? People like,
Oh yeah. Well, they
just
tend to know the most.
well, yeah, or I just want that relation. I have enough of the academic relationship with music. I want the other shit. No.
Yeah.
And my teacher here in Cadiz, who's a really great cajon player, he was like, you know, he was counting it for me, and I was like, man, Audrey, I think we're feeling one in different places or something, you know. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, beat one is where you're saying two, right? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, I'm going to sing Happy Birthday, and you tell me if I'm singing it in the right place or if I'm singing it in the wrong place. So he started playing and counting, and I started singing Happy Birthday, right? Beat one, where he was saying two. And he was like, yeah, that's right. And I was like, yeah, but you're saying beat two where I'm saying birth, and that's where beat one is. And we talked about, I had the whole conversation on video. It's hilarious. And after like 4 minutes, he was like, we were kind of discussing it, you know, and then he was like, why the hell do we do that? Like, why do we count like that? And I was like, I mean, you count like that because someone counted like that, and that's how you learned how to count. But I would guess that probably a long time ago, a dance started with the pickup beat 12. So they said 1, 2, right? I mean, I don't know, or some kind of practical reason. I don't know, but it would be really interesting to analyze exactly why that's how that is. But the dancers count the same way. It's the way you count in flamenco music. And I don't remember how I got on this tangent. You were talking about hand percussion in Africa and about people's perspective on one. Even though Audrey was saying two, he feels beat one there.
Yeah.
Sense of one.
The one exists. It's just called two.
It's called two.
That which we think of in Western music as one, because we have sheet music and because it's regimented, that it put into this box. That's one. So we label it as such. I'd be curious to see this conversation, by the way, the video.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. That's really funny. Yeah, I mean, the really interesting thing is that I think we all have experienced the weirdness of one in rehearsals when we're like, for example, like, let's play Layla by Eric Clapton, right? But you know what? Let's just go right on the chorus, right on beat. You know, I'll count you in, okay? 1, 2, 3. Dun, 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 dun. It's like, wait, what? That's not Layla. Layla's 1, 2, 3. Right? The phrase is
yeah. That's the signature. The thumbprint.
To count off the song and then just start on dun, 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 dun. It's like, what? That's not the song. So you know, and I've experienced that a lot in rehearsals, like counting songs off, and then you're like, well, I'll just play it. Let me just play the pickup, you know, and that's the way that, especially, you know, generally in folkloric music, for sure, you know, that's how people are thinking. They're not thinking like, you know, they're just like, this is the phrase. And I think we, as like people who've gone through the academic system, have a lot to learn from that. You know, we definitely have more to learn from that side than they do from ours, I think.
Yeah.
That's an opinion. But, yeah.
I agree with you on that, because that side is the side that is focused specifically on how we hear and connect with that which is being put into the air in vibrations.
Yeah.
The academic side has a lot of other stuff baked into it that is peripheral, and the periphery can inform the center.
Right.
To a large
extent. And it's important. Also important, you know, it's I learned so much in school. I'm grateful for it, but it's like, you know, if I got to choose one and leave the other, I know exactly where I'm.
Well, you are in the right place for it, right? In a little like town in Spain.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think as musicians we try to seek balance to offset our weaknesses. You know, if we're not good at something, we try to put ourselves in the position that, you know, I am perfectly capable of being overly analytical and intellectual toward music. It's not to say I'm a master of theory, but, you know, that's not what I'm lacking, and so I'm trying to put myself in positions to pick up the slack, to make up for stuff that's not good in my musicianship.
Well, you say it that way. Some people would say that that you are, and musicians are generally, as a positive and as a fault, we are unbridledly curious.
Yeah.
We want to know more, as much as we possibly can, and the things that we know the least about, if we can recognize how little we know about them, then we are blessed to have that drive to fill in those gaps and try to learn more.
Yeah.
Can you would you and again, if you got to go, you can go, man, because I've kept you so long here, but I really want to hear that other instrument that you played for me at Soundcheck.
Yeah, the gimbri. This is a gimbri or cintier, depending on who you're talking.
Yeah,
Moroccan.
Hold.
Yeah,
that's so beautiful. It's a Moroccan instrument that is used as
the bass. Yeah, it's the ancient ancestor of the bass, actually. Thousands of years old. People don't really know, but it's really old. Very, very old. It's primarily played in Ganawa music, which is sacred Sufi trance music from Morocco, from Essaouira.
Sacred Sufi trance music from Morocco.
Yeah, and it's like it's like camel skin, camel neck top, and normally this is wood, but this one's aluminum, but normally it's wood. They're decorated really beautifully. This one's painted with henna. Okay. And the neck's interesting. It's round. It's not flat like a guitar neck. It's just a cylinder. Skins are from goat guts, I think. And it's kind of like a drum and a bass. Because you can play it like
no frets.
No frets. Definitely no frets. It's just 3 strings. They're like ridiculously high off the fingerboard on this one. This one's a particularly difficult one to play, but it's still fun. And it's just tuned. It's 3 strings, 1 string you don't finger. It's just a drone. You have a low string, and then you have this. Should look at the microphone near the sound hole, and then you have this, which is G. So it's DDG. And you can play it like regular, like. I'm gonna turn up the mic a little bit.
I've also got a little bit of reverb and compression on you now.
Oh, nice. Perfect. And this note it's supposed to be flat. Okay. If you're like, what's up with his intonation? It's supposed to be that it's like in between a flat. It's really like a major 2 that's just down a little bit. Or you can play it like a drum, like you can hit it while you're playing. Right. Yeah. Everything in G or G. So it's for me, it's like, you can't really tell, largely because of the way you're hearing the instrument right now through compressors and all kinds of stuff, computers, but it's a very, the sound of the instrument it's a healing instrument, actually. It's designed to be, historically it's used primarily for leelas, which are like healing ceremonies. That go all night, and the master who plays the gimbri and sings with his group of people playing castanets and singing behind him, like the chorus. He sings the lead vocals, they sing the choruses. It's always call and response, and he normally outlines what they're singing in the bass part, and then when he's singing, he or she, for the first time ever, there's like a scene of female malam starting, which is like kind of heresy, but as Ganawa music has moved out of the religious and into like popular music, a lot of rules are getting broken, and there's some really awesome
Now, when
awesome
you say
people.
healing ceremonies, this is when is it somebody actually sick and they're doing this ceremony as an attempt
Yeah.
to heal that individual. That's so interesting. And
Yeah, very practical. I mean, and the ceremony. I mean, I'm not qualified to explain it, but basically, it's like incredibly long. They go through. It's hours and hours, and they like the Gnawa music is intimately related with colors.
Mm.
So certain songs are certain colors,
Okay.
and they'll actually there's a clairvoyant normally a woman who senses the energy of the moment and says, okay, now we're going into red, and people start wearing red. The clairvoyant normally has scents, scents, like spices and herbs and stuff, and she'll, depending on the color, certain spices, certain smells go with it's really, really interesting. And this instrument is like, man, it's not like playing a bass. It is, the feeling you have when you're playing it is crazy. It's like such a deep, I mean, I'm not talking about it in terms of its spiritual or historical legacy. I'm just talking about it in terms of my body's response to the sound of the instrument. It's like, it's like I said, now you don't really feel it, but if you were sitting in front of it or if it was on your lap, it would be different. It's really special. Yeah, really cool. I love it.
Interesting. Beautiful. I want to attend one of these ceremonies.
Yeah, me too. I've never been. I mean, I don't know what the rules are like, for those, but they're, it's like, man. So it's there's so much music out there, and every scene, especially when you have a scene of people who only play that kind of music, it's so deep. It's been, if Abdallah Al Ghord has spent his whole life just playing this instrument and crackhead singing in one genre of music. It's like, man, how much do we have to learn from that, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost irreplicable.
Yeah, but it's really, I like the, Moroccan music also has like a very interesting feel. They swing stuff in different ways, and especially their six feel. Like I played that six feel from Azerbaijan on the drum, but the six feel in Moroccan music is so cool, man. And I'm definitely not the one that's qualified to go in on it, but it's.
Well, can you play a little bit more of one of the things you've been learning on that?
Yeah, there's a sixth thing that there's a tune called Hamuda that I really love and that my teacher is showing me now. So this is my week. This week, this is what I've been practicing.
Okay, cool.
Really cool tune in six. And normally the way that they're going to play the castanets, they're going to play if you think of it in 12/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They play every eighth note, but the swing is like one, right? So there's a little bit of a space between the first and second note. That.
Yeah. I recognize that.
Depending on the band, it could be like 3, 4, like really swung, got, or it could be almost completely straight, like. So depending on the certain groups, every group has their own kind of swing identity, and certain songs also. And I mean, it's really interesting. So this tune, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I have to feel it in 4. 3. That's the main rhythm, right? That's right.
You know, it's getting soft. It's getting soft again a little bit. For like the volume wise, it's
Still?
yeah. It's like kind of coming in and out, but
Yeah, probably because of the. I mean, it's not designed to be. You know, Zoom is not for. But the crazy thing is, you know, the stuff speeds up over the course of the song because it's trance, right? The whole thing's trance, so it'll start there, and normally by the end it'll be like.
yeah, I hear that.
Whatever, really. I mean, and it's the really crazy thing for me is the left hand is like whatever. It's not a big deal because I play bass, I play guitar. Anyone who plays those instruments, it's not going to be so weird. But the right hand is so strange because you're playing like this with the nail, but also beating on the skin. And
Yes, it's gonna get that percussive quality.
yeah, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes it's like you can play the same groove like.
Yeah, I know. It gives like a weird.
Awesome. No, surprisingly in time with I expect the latency to be crazier, but I mean I would recommend if anybody's watching this like and is interested in you know how the shit is really supposed to sound and not how like a student sounds from another part of the world. You know, the dude for me right now is Hamid El Kasra. Hamid Al Costa, he's like the main dude.
Hamid Al Costa. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, oh, there's a chat, right? I'll just write it in there.
Okay, cool.
And,
and I'll copy and paste it to the group all
and
the streams.
Historically, like the dude, like the king of all time there's a million ways of spelling his last name, but and his first name actually. Mahmoud Ghanea is like the dude. The dude.
Here, I'm putting that in the group chat so it'll go out to all the streams that are broadcasting this right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's beautiful. Banal music, it's like, and it's great, man. I'm like, you know, my girlfriend lives like 45 minutes from Morocco, so yeah, I can shoot down super easily, and I'm like an hour and a half flight, 2 hour flight, so it's I go down there as much as I can to study and get my butt kicked, and you know, it's great, man. It's awesome.
Oh, what a beautiful lifestyle you're living, man. And to be able to chat with you about all the stuff that you're doing is very special. I appreciate you coming on the show and playing for us.
My pleasure. Yeah,
and hanging out with me. I know we've gone 50 minutes over the time when I promised you I'd let you go because it's been so engaging.
Dude, it's totally cool. I mean, trip.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, man. I'll let you go, but thank you so much for being on this. And the people to check out, I just put in the chat there, so everybody will see that. And then if you have you uploaded that video that you were talking about of the guy talking about time in flamenco versus Western?
No.
If you do, I'm really curious to. Well,
I'll ask him because I don't want to make him feel bad, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
But it's fun. I mean, he's a character. He's a really funny guy. He's just like, I don't understand why we do that, you know, because it's just the way things go.
Yeah,
really fun.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, for everybody who's watching right now, go and check out the record that Michael League has out. This is Michael League, by the way, if you joined in the past. However long since I've mentioned his name, which is now over an hour, and his new the Snarky Puppy's new record, Live at Royal Albert Hall, is out right now. You can go and check it out, and I'm very excited to see what comes of this journey that you're on right now in your own solo project and the book that you're working on.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate you having me, man. Good luck with all the stuff you have going on. I know you stay very busy, so best of luck with it.
I'm working on it, man. All right. Well, thank you. Have a great day out there. I'll talk to you soon, man.
See you, Greg.
Bye. Whew, that was so much fun. Oh, man. How did that... It's been now 50 minutes over the time when I usually do this show, Till. This is 9:50 a.m. right now in Los Angeles. And that... I will totally butcher the rhythm and the swing if I try to replicate what Mike was just doing, but he was playing some really cool stuff for us on that instrument that he's working on, which I'm gonna have to go and look into these other players as well. Get a little bit indigo now in music. Oh man. So, for those of you who tuned in recently, that was Michael League from Snarky Puppy. We had some great conversation. This video will live online and you can go back and check out what we were talking about. Some very interesting insights on life in quarantine and also the productive life of somebody who's built something that is very special. The trajectory of Snarky Puppy over the past 15 years is something that we have not seen in many, if actually any other groups. It's one of a kind. So, with that, I will bid you adieu. Nos vemos. Arigato. And I'll see you tomorrow morning for the next episode of Mornings with Greg. And stay tuned for more special guests coming up in the coming week. Thanks again, everybody. Love you guys very much. Talk to you soon. Peace.